Dave, still early days, of course, just 5 games into the league season, a couple of cup performances as well. How would you assess the start to the season that you've had so far?
Probably mixed, bit inconsistent, which we need to work at. Probably one of our strengths last year was, I don't think in many, if any, games we were unplayable out of this world, but I don't think we were poor or not up to standard at some points. I think this year already in the first part we've been better at stages than we were last year, but we've also been worse at stages than we were last year. So it's keeping that, I suppose, gap between performances as small as possible and trying to be as consistent as possible over an extended period. You're probably always going to get that with new players coming in and things. But I suppose the pleasing bit on the back of that is that we've still had a decent start in terms of results. And like I said right at the very start, we can get frustrated about performances and we need to improve them. But ultimately we still need to keep picking up results. So that's the one positive.
And when you say mixed, did you expect that? Is that more or less where you expected to be at this early stage?
Well, it's probably easy to say that now because we are there, but you don't want that to be the case. You could look for, and maybe you probably set the bar too high in terms of new players coming in and what that looks like. And you could, if you wanted to, look for reasons as to why that might happen. Then we can say that we've obviously had some injuries, we've had some players that have come in and not had a full pre-season and all them bits, but I'd rather focus on what's in front of us and try and be the best that we can be, and not look for reasons as to why. Look for solutions to make sure that we're better and make sure that we improve.
When we spoke last week, you touched a lot on adversity and players needing to show that they can respond in the right way to adversity. Certainly did that in the second half last weekend. And I suppose in a way that they'll benefit more from winning in those kind of circumstances than they maybe would have done if they went out and won 3 or 4-0 last week.
You should, yeah, you absolutely should. We've got to make sure, like I say, that's the case. I think more around mentality and mindset to be able to go and perform as we did with 10 men and put in the performance that was essentially stripped back to basics, and go and get a positive result on the back of what happened in the first half last week was, we should take an awful lot from. We have to make sure that's our mindset with 11. And of course there'll be times that we're required to have more control and play a little bit more, but I suppose what it did show is the fact that we can play in a slightly different way in order to try and get results. All of the good things that we did, though, came on the back of doing the basics well, working hard, being resilient, dropping on second balls, doing all the bits that you need to do, competing. And football's changed an awful lot over the last 20 years. That part of it hasn't changed. And we've got to make sure that although we want to be a certain thing and we'll focus on bits that we can improve, that other things don't suffer as a consequence of that.
You've spoken a lot throughout your time here about opportunities, about the need for players to take opportunities when they come around. I guess the frustration about evenings like Tuesday when players maybe don't do that is you then exit these competitions and those opportunities actually come around a lot fewer as the season goes on.
Yeah, and that's always going to be the case. I mean, I suppose with the position we're at now, there are players that will get more opportunities because we've got some injuries. So naturally the squad's smaller, which means players are closer to either being involved or starting games. We hope that, we know that at time or in time that will change and the squad will become deeper. And then ultimately, if you're not performing, then you aren't in the starting lineup, you aren't involved in the squad. And those opportunities you did have early in the season, if you've not taken them, there's a consequence to them. At the minute, there might not be the consequence that maybe there should be, but that's currently the situation we sit. Like I said, after Tuesday, when you make changes as we did, which was always going to be the case. I spoke about that after the game on Saturday. To play 70 minutes with 10 men is an ask. but we put a team out that gave some young players an opportunity to show what they could do, and some senior players that needed minutes. Now, we did okay in the game. I don't think there was a great deal of quality in the game. I don't think there was a great deal between two sides that made 8 and 9 changes each, if you like. But nothing really sort of surprised me. You want people to really go, oh, hang on, I like the look at that, or and that was, I suppose, the frustrating part of it. The fact that we're out of the competition, as I've said previously, I don't like to lose any game, and it'll be the same whatever we play in. Just because we pick a team to give other people's opportunities doesn't mean I don't want to win, and that was the case on Tuesday.
One of the players that came in on Tuesday, Danny Andrew, his contract's up at the end of this week. What's the latest on that situation? Is that something you'd still like to see extended?
Yeah, we're in talks with Danny and his agent. I think he has some offers that he has to consider. So it's strange. There's only however many days left in the transfer window, single figures, but still seems an awful long time. So we'll get the game out the way at the weekend, and then we'll see where we're at Sunday, Monday. And like I say, I'm not sure how much change, incomings, outgoings there's going to be. But for some reason, although the transfer window opens at the start of pre-season, things tend to be escalated and speeded up right in the last couple of days. So anything could happen between now and Monday.
You'll have Brad Hills back from suspension at the weekend. Is anyone else back available for Saturday?
No, not that was not involved on Tuesday. As I said, we made a call to leave some players out of the squad completely to rest them because they've played a lot of minutes. Again, I don't think any adverse reactions from the game. Obviously, Oldham went off, but nothing too significant there. But certainly from the injured lot, no one coming back as of yet.
You mentioned Malik had had some pre-planned injections as well. Is he good to go?
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll train this morning. So they were, again, something that's ongoing with him, and will be the case for as long as he continues to play.
Just looking ahead to Wigan now, I guess a little strange going there back-to-back games. Does Tuesday's game have any bearing at all in terms of how you prepare for Saturday?
It has a bearing in terms of what they do as a team, and how they try and play, because I don't think that's a great deal different. What will happen amongst both teams, the personnel will be very different from Tuesday evening. So you would expect, without sounding the wrong way, there'll be more quality on the pitch. There'll be more fluidity in terms of how they play and how we play. But the game, I don't think, will look a whole lot different in terms of how they want to build and how they build low and high, and exactly the same with us. Hopefully, from our perspective, there's better quality and a different result.
And just in terms of Wigan, they've obviously had a solid start, look more of a goal threat maybe than they were last season. Experienced manager obviously in place now in Ryan Lowe. Are they a side you see as capable as for challenging for those top 6 places?
Listen, who knows at this part of the season? As I said, a lot can happen between now and Monday in terms of what squads will look like. No doubt teams will strengthen, and teams that at the moment that you maybe think aren't ones that compete for the top 6 places, there can be 2 or 3 changes within a squad, and that looks a different picture. Obviously, teams have done their work early. Some teams do them late. Some teams do it very late. So I think once the window closes on Monday, and probably towards maybe the back end of September, you'll get a clearer picture after maybe closer to 10 games of where people sit within the division. I think last year expected it to be really close and probably up to 15 teams maybe pushing. That may have reduced a little bit this year in terms of expectation, but there's teams that are investing heavily in squads in order to make sure they are involved in that. So again, people and everyone can speculate as to who will be involved and how it will be involved. My focus is on what we do, because we've got our own things that we need to solve at the minute, and we'll try and work hard at doing that.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
Welcome. Cheers. Thank you.